The tundra is the coldest biome of all. It is known for its molded landscapes. The name tundra comes from a Finnish word meaning treeless plain. It is split into two different types of tundras, Arctic and alpine. The first is the Arctic. This is located in the northern hemisphere, spreading from the North Pole to the coniferous forest of taiga. It is known for the cold, desert-like atmosphere and is a home to over 1,700 plants. This is because of the permafrost that is formed, which gives moisture to plants. Mammals like polar bears can survive, but amphibians and reptiles cannot survive. The other tundra is the alpine tundra. This tundra is located where trees cannot grow because of the high altitude. The high altitude is too cold and windy to support growth. Animals like elk and sheep survive in the alpines, and plants like grasses and shrubs survive. The main difference between the two tundras is that the alpine doesn't have permafrost because their soil is drained better. There are 5 specific symbiosis relationships seen in the tundra: mutualism, parasitism, commensalism, competition, and predation. Mutualism is the way two organisms of different species exist in a relationship in which each individual benefits from the activity of the other. One of the most well-known examples of mutualism in the tundra involves lichen. Lichen appears moss-like, but it actually represents a symbiotic relationship between a fungus and an algae. The fungus is fed sugar, oxygen, and food by the photosynthetic algae. The fungus protects the algae and gives the algae a place to live. The next one is parasitism. Parasitism is a relationship between two species of plants or animals in which one benefits at the expense of the other. Liver tapeworm cysts are common parasites involved in a symbiosis with moose, caribou, or wolves. These are parasites that stay in the host's intestinal system. These worms act as parasites by taking away nutrients needed by their hosts and using them for their own survival. Caribou and wolves can live long lives with these parasites depending on the amount of food they are able to obtain. The next one is commensalism. Commensalism is a class of relationships between two organisms, where one organism benefits from the other without affecting it. The barren ground, caribou, and the Arctic fox represent commensalism. The fox follows the caribou, who removes the snow covering to get at lichens under the soil. The fox then hunts the animals that have been unearthed by the caribou. This is commensalism because the Arctic fox gets to use the hole that the caribou had already dug up. The next one is competition. Competition is an interaction between organisms or species in which both the organisms or species are harmed. Competition among members of the same species is known as intraspecific competition, while competition between individuals of different species is known as interspecific competition. In the tundra, caribou and musk are in interspecific competition. The reason for the caribou and musk ox to fight is because the musk ox feeds on the plants like grasses and sedges. Meanwhile, the caribou eats berries, grasses, and sedges. When they fight, it is simply over territory and one taking away food from each other. The next one is predation. Predation is a biological interaction where a predator kills and eats its prey. Snowy owls mainly eat mammals ranging from small rodents to large hares. The owl is able to hide because of the white complexion, while the hare doesn't fit in with the white snow and stands out. Snowy owls perch on the ground or on short posts. From there, they watch out for their prey and catch them with their strong claws.
The food web in the tundra begins with the producers, which are leaves, lichen, grass, moss, and phytoplankton, and they produce the energy coming directly from the sunlight. Then we have the primary consumers, which is salmon, lemmings, caribou, hares, pikas, shrew, and insects. They are the first organisms that receive the energy that comes from the producers. The secondary consumers are then the seals, Arctic foxes, Arctic wolves, raven, and the Arctic loons, and they are the second receivers from the energy of the producers. And last on the food web is the tertiary consumer, which is the polar bear, gray wolf, snowy owl, and the falcon, and they are the highest trophic level in the food web. But we do have the decomposers who take decompose organic material and put the energy right back into the atmosphere. Next, we have patterns of dispersion. The first pattern of dispersion is clump dispersion, and an example of that is the Arctic wolf, because they tend to live in packs and are not normally alone. The picture on the right shows 3 wolves howling together, which shows their pack mentality, and also the howling shows that they're trying to keep other wolves away or communicate to their other fellow wolves where they are. This exemplifies clump because it has the different groupings with not many other lone wolves in between each group. The second form of dispersion is uniform dispersion, and the peregrine falcon is an example for this. They are high on the food web and don't have many predators, so therefore they can survive anywhere in their habitat. There is a low probability that if there is one hawk in a place that there will be another one nearby. They tend to be alone when they're hunting, and you can see both pictures have a single falcon, and in the right one it shows a falcon landing with its prey. The last form of dispersion is random dispersion, and moss exemplifies this because it produces spores which can only grow wherever they land. This is subject to nature and wherever the wind takes the spores, and they can only grow to wherever they first root. The left picture is a picture of the moss in the tundra, and the picture on the right is the close-up picture of the spores, and this is where what gets blown in the wind and what is able to produce more moss in places other than where it is now. The most prominent human disturbance and also the most severe threat to the tundra is global warming. This is problematic because it causes the tundra permafrost to melt, which leads to a release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The picture above is of the tundra with little ice left and little permafrost, which shows the disturbance from our global warming. Not only does the melting of the permafrost release carbon dioxide, but it also radically changes the habitat and affects which species are able to live there. The release of the greenhouse gas carbon dioxide depletes the ozone, which means the ultraviolet rays are stronger, further harming the tundra. In order to stop these effects, humans should switch to alternative energy uses to minimize human-made global warming. The picture on the bottom is of the tundra before the permafrost started to melt, and it shows the polar bears living there, but as the permafrost melts, the polar bears will not be able to survive in the new habitat. The picture on the right shows the release of greenhouse gases, which goes into the ozone and depletes it, and the UV rays from sunlight are able to hit down on Earth's surface.
Nitrogen makes up for about 79% of Earth's atmosphere. Nitrogen can be absorbed by clouds and reach the ground by snowfall. The nitrogen is then transferred to the soil and frozen over by permafrost. The permafrost captures the nitrogen in the soil, and it cannot be released until the permafrost thaws. Nitrogen that is not released by the exposure to the atmosphere can seep through soil into nearby lakes and streams, promoting the growth of plants such as algae. Carbon dioxide, which is used by plants and exerted by animals, can be transferred into the soil after these organisms' remains decay. As with nitrogen, permafrost acts as a barrier against carbon being released back into the atmosphere. But, unlike nitrogen, when carbon is exposed after the thawing of permafrost, it cannot be released quickly. This is why the cold temperatures of the tundra have kept it in its carbon sink state for over 2 decades. The biomass of the tundra has remained at a higher concentration of carbon dioxide than that in the atmosphere, and the thawing of permafrost would be the only potential catalyst in this reaction. The water cycle in the tundra is not extremely active due to low rates of precipitation, transpiration, and evaporation. The lack of these processes is mainly caused by the low temperatures the tundra is constantly exposed to. Permafrost keeps the ground sources of water from depleting any to the air, and lakes usually remain frozen over. The movement of the water cycle does increase in the warmer months, when permafrost evaporates and allows for more movement throughout the ecosystem. The Arctic hare is an example of an organism from the tundra which has a type 2 survivorship curve. The lifespan of the Arctic hare is 4 to 5 years, and the main cause of its linear death rate are predators. Predators such as foxes and hawks are constant threats for the survival of the Arctic hare, but their population birth rate allows this organism to remain safe from extinction. Other outside factors such as hunting, climate change, and human interaction do not have a large negative influence on the population of Arctic hares in the tundra.